You think she's moved on, don't you? You see her posting, smiling, maybe even flirting with someone new. But here's the truth that almost no one will tell you. She's not over you. She's studying you. Every second of your silence is echoing in her mind, louder than any words you could have sent. She's replaying every moment, trying to decode why you suddenly became so calm, so quiet, so untouchable. Women aren't built to handle emotional ambiguity. They crave emotional closure, even when they're the ones who ended things. That's why your silence is so powerful. It's not indifference. It's psychological confusion. When you pull back, she's forced to fill the silence with her own thoughts, and that's where the obsession begins. See, she expected you to chase. She counted on it. Every message she ignored, every time she pulled away, she assumed you'd respond with more effort, more attention, more begging. That's the game, the validation loop. But when you stopped feeding it, something inside her shifted. The power she thought she had over you cracked. Now she's watching your stories, noticing if you're online, analyzing your last scene. She won't admit it, but your absence has become her daily question mark. It's psychological gravity. The harder she tries to detach, the more your silence pulls her back in. Men think power comes from what they say, but it's what they don't say that burns deepest. A woman's mind can rationalize rejection, but she can't rationalize uncertainty. Silence isn't empty. It's a mirror. It reflects her actions back to her and forces her to face what she's lost. And that's why you don't text her. You don't post to get her attention. You don't explain yourself, because every time you do, you give her comfort. You give her control. But silence? Silence is the one language that flips the power dynamic completely. It makes her wonder, did she lose something she can't replace? And once that thought enters her mind, it spreads. It grows. Until she's the one replaying your words, checking your messages, and wondering if you've already moved on. That's when she starts to chase. Not because you ignored her, but because your silence reminded her what it feels like to lose a man who finally understood his worth. Here's what's really happening inside her mind right now. When you went silent, you disrupted her emotional rhythm, the one she thought she controlled. See, relationships are built on a pattern. She acts, you react. She pulls away, you chase. She criticizes, you explain. That pattern gives her emotional security, even when she's the one causing chaos. But when you stopped responding, when you went completely quiet, her nervous system went into confusion, because she's wired for emotional response. The female brain releases dopamine when attention is given, especially from a man she once held emotionally captive. When that dopamine source suddenly disappears, she experiences a psychological withdrawal, almost like losing access to her favorite drug. That's why your silence doesn't just confuse her, it hurts her. It forces her to question everything. She replays the last text, the last look, the last conversation. She tells herself she doesn't care, but that voice gets quieter every night. Because silence has a strange way of amplifying the truth. And the truth is, she expected you to be weak. She expected you to beg, to prove your love again and again. And when you didn't, it triggered something primal in her, fear of loss. Now she's scrolling through your old messages, not because she misses you, but because she's trying to find the moment she lost control. She's wondering, did he stop caring? Did he find someone else? That's where the obsession begins. It's not about love anymore. It's about dominance. She can't stand not knowing if she still has power over you. And here's the paradox. The less you try to prove your value, the more she starts to feel it. Every day you stay silent. You're silently reprogramming her perception of you. You're no longer the emotional provider she took for granted. You've become a mystery. And a mysterious man is the most irresistible kind of man. Because mystery forces attraction. It awakens curiosity, tension, and emotional hunger. She can't control it. She can't predict it. And that drives her crazy. She'll start testing you again. Subtle likes, random texts, stories designed to provoke your attention. But that's not connection. That's her trying to reclaim control. Your silence didn't push her away, it made her feel. And in today's world, that's rarer than love itself. Now she's starting to realize something terrifying, that your silence is louder than any apology, any message, or any late-night confession she could ever send. She's caught in a storm of her own creation. Every time she opens her phone, she feels the urge to reach out, but her pride stops her. That pride is the only thing standing between her and the message she wants to send. I miss you. She tells her friends she's fine. She laughs in front of others. But when she's alone, the silence she thought she wanted becomes unbearable. See, women are emotional architects. They build emotional homes in men they feel connected to. And when that home goes quiet, it starts to collapse from the inside. She doesn't miss the relationship. She misses how your attention made her feel. That's the addiction. That's the trap. You became her mirror once, reflecting her beauty, her charm, her worth. Now that reflection is gone, and she's forced to face the reality she's been avoiding. Without your attention, she doesn't shine as bright. It's not about love or romance anymore. It's about validation. When you withdraw that validation, she starts to question her identity. Was she really that desirable, or was it your gaze that made her believe it? That's the paradox of silence. It exposes emotional dependence. Most people don't know this, but silence activates the same part of the brain that responds to social rejection. It's the same pain pathway. So while she's pretending not to care, her subconscious is screaming for closure. She starts inventing reasons to think about you, songs, memories, tiny excuses to peek at your life again. And when she finally sees you calm, unbothered, maybe even better without her, that's when her emotional foundation crumbles completely. Because now the story in her head flips. Did I lose the only man who actually understood me? That thought, right there, is where obsession begins. The more you hold your silence, the more her mind fills in the blanks. She imagines you with someone else. She imagines you laughing, healing, moving on. And every time she imagines that, her ego takes another hit. That's when she starts to spiral. The messages she never sends, the pictures she stalks, the what-ifs she can't silence. There's a moment, quiet but powerful, when she finally realizes she no longer controls the narrative. That's when your silence transforms from confusion to attraction. See, men chase clarity, but women chase emotion. And silence is pure emotional chaos. It doesn't give her closure. It doesn't give her reassurance. It makes her feel. And that feeling, that uncertainty, becomes addictive. Because here's what you've done without even trying. You've flipped the polarity. Before you were emotionally exposed, and she was emotionally guarded. You wanted her to see your worth. She wanted to keep her power. But now, she's the one seeking validation, and you're the one she can't read. That imbalance is what fuels her desire. It's what makes her start chasing. She'll test the waters with subtle actions. Maybe she likes an old photo, watches your story seconds after you post it, or sends a harmless "hey," pretending it's nothing. But don't be fooled. Every move is calculated. It's not about the message. It's about regaining emotional control. She wants to know if she still affects you, if she still has space in your mind. And here's the beautiful irony. The more she tries to test you, the deeper she falls into her own emotional maze. Because your silence stripped away her illusion of control. You didn't beg. You didn't explain. You simply vanished from the emotional battlefield. And that's what every woman remembers. The man who didn't react when she expected him to break. There's something primal in that energy. A man who can stay calm in the face of rejection, who doesn't chase or compete for attention, radiates strength. It's not arrogance, it's mastery. You've shown her, without a word, that your peace is worth more than her approval, and that's the kind of confidence that drives her crazy. Now she's the one replaying your silence like a song she can't stop listening to. Every unanswered thought becomes a new reason to miss you. She starts wondering who you're talking to, if someone else now has the focus she once took for granted. And the more she wonders, the more she feels the void you left behind. You didn't need to block her, insult her, or prove your worth. You just needed to disappear with dignity. And that is the kind of silence that leaves permanent marks on the human heart. Now the tables have completely turned. The silence that once made her feel powerful is now the same silence that's haunting her every night. She's starting to realize that you were the one who carried emotional weight in the relationship, not her. You were the anchor, the listener, the calm in her chaos. But when you walked away without bitterness, she lost something she didn't know she depended on: your emotional presence. This is the part most men never get to see, the moment she breaks her own rules. She'll convince herself that she's just checking in. But deep down, she's searching for reassurance that you still care, that she still has a piece of your heart. That message she sends, "Hey, how have you been?" isn't casual. It's her pride cracking under the pressure of uncertainty. And you know what's beautiful? You don't have to do anything, because your silence already did the work. See, when you stop chasing, you stop validating her emotional patterns. You no longer feed the dynamic that kept her comfortable. And that's when she's forced to self-reflect. She begins to question her choices. Why did I push him away? Why do I miss him now that he's gone? That's not just attraction, that's rewiring. You've become an emotional contrast in her mind, the calm she can't find anywhere else. Every man after you feels noisy, predictable, emotionally needy. You became a symbol of something she didn't know she wanted until she lost it: stability wrapped in silence. And that's the exact reason why men who master silence never lose. Because silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It speaks the language of discipline, confidence, and restraint. Things every woman secretly craves but rarely admits. When you stop talking, you give her space to feel your absence. When you stop explaining, you force her to remember your presence. She may try to replace you, she may try to distract herself, but deep down, she'll compare everyone to you, and no one will match the mystery you left behind. Because mystery lives in silence, and silence leaves an emotional fingerprint that time can't erase. So when she finally texts you again, remember this: you don't respond to seek validation. You respond, if you even choose to, from a place of peace, because now you hold the power she thought she'd never lose. There comes a moment when she finally realizes she's no longer the center of your world. That realization doesn't come from a text or a conversation. It comes from the void, from your calm, from the way you've learned to exist without needing her attention to feel valuable. That's when everything inside her begins to unravel, because what she thought was control was actually dependence. And now your silence is her mirror, showing her everything she lost by underestimating you. You see, silence isn't about revenge, it's about reclaiming your energy. It's about understanding that your attention is the most valuable currency a man owns, and you decide who earns it. The moment you stopped trying to prove your worth, you became rare. And rarity always draws attention. That's why she can't stop thinking about you. Not because you disappeared, but because you transformed. Now you exist in her memory as the man who walked away with dignity, the man who didn't beg, didn't fight, didn't crumble. You became an emotional contrast, a calm presence in a world full of noise. And every time she encounters someone new, she measures them against the way you made her feel. That's when obsession fully blooms, because you're no longer chasing her. She's chasing the version of herself that you brought out, the version that felt desired, understood, seen.